joined by Chris Alexander, head of Louisiana Citizens Advocacy Group. Chris, what's going on?
I'm doing well, Moon. How are you doing today?
Man, for a big dummy, I'm hanging in there, brother, I promise you.
There you go.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about your organization first, and then I want to talk about you put a piece out the other day, and audio. I actually played it because y'all really going to focus on RINOs, and I've been begging for a group like this to come along for a while just to show their record, just to show who they really are. But talk about the group first.
Yeah, Moon, our Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group is focused exclusively on state legislative matters, and we're focused in like a microscope on Republican RINOs in the legislature and what they're doing there and how they're killing bills in committee secretly often before they ever get to the full chamber, and then they're going back home and talking to their constituents about all the good things they're doing. And I saw it firsthand for 2 years down there. I got tired of watching it. And so we are focused very directly on cleaning out RINOs from the state legislature. And we're not going to allow them to continue to misrepresent what they're doing back home. And we know who they are. It's a group of about 20, 22, 23 of them, all of whom voted for Clay Schexnayder for Speaker back in 2020. And Schexnayder has done more to undermine our agenda than anybody else in Louisiana politics as far as the state legislature goes. So that's what we're doing, and we're growing quickly.
You know, one of the things that I was impressed with that, I talk about it here as it's happening. A lot of times you don't after you move on. One of the things you mentioned, and it's going to be hard to find it all because it's been happening every year since the leadership, and especially on the Cortez side of the Senate with blank page, the bills that pass that they killed, they're good. You were talking about that the other day when I listened to your piece, and I thought that is more important, not more important, but it's as important as bills they just they may pass and they water them down. But a lot of bills got stuck on the Senate side under blank page Cortez. He didn't move anything. And that's the kind of bills nobody knows about because that's, quote, not on the record.
That's right, Moon. And a lot of the voter scorecards, most of them simply record actual votes that were taken in the full chamber. So if Page Cortez is up there and simply not calling a bill to a vote and lets the time run out or waits until it requires a 2/3 vote and it dies, those don't come up on voter scorecards. And so we're focusing on what they're killing in committee and what they're refusing to call in the chamber. And that's because that's how they do it. They're very good at this. They're very good at posturing as though they're good conservatives when in reality they're killing us down there. And, we're targeting those folks. And there are a couple of races, Moon, that are coming up on November 8th that are very important that I talked to you about today. So whenever I can do it right now or
yeah, no, I was going. Let me back up just a second and we'll come to that.
Yeah.
But one of the bills I was talking about, Dodie Horton had a great bill to protect our children, okay? And it went to the Education Committee. And Lance Harris, who didn't vote in the fraud squad, but is part of them now because of Lionel Rainey and all that same old group, and he's part of the fraud squad, and they killed a good bill. And
yeah, they sure did.
And when I brought it up that it was killed because, Lance Harris had a lot to do with that. They just shot the bill down.
Yeah, he's the chairman of the Education Committee, Moon. It was House Bill 837, Dodie Horton, and it would have simply prohibited the teaching of radical sexual concepts in our public schools, like transgenderism, gender identity, and stuff like that. He killed it in the Education Committee, along with Freiberg and Hilferty, and two other RINOs. And, so... Yeah, that's exactly. It was a very, very good bill, a much-needed bill in Louisiana. And, so that doesn't show up on a voter scorecard.
No, doesn't show up at all. And that's why when I saw with the group, and we had talked about it before, but when I saw it on the group, you go grab bills that was killed in the Senate by Cortez and his group, and you find out how these people are not that conservative. And not to mention, the Cortez sake, he made Joe Robideau a lot of money because of gambling. I still believe one of his good friends will be making a lot of money on cameras, though, going across the basin. We'll wait and see when that all comes in. And So anyway, I just that's what I like, because that's something that doesn't show up on a voter card. That's devastating to some of these people.
It is absolutely devastating. Another thing that doesn't show up on a voter scorecard is, just one example, is Blake Miguez's election integrity bill, which Cortez pushed and pushed and pushed on the Senate side after it passed everywhere else to a 2/3 vote. Then he made sure that 2 RINOs were not in the chamber when he finally called it for a vote, and a very good election integrity bill failed by 2 votes because Cortez orchestrated the failure.
Yep.
And now he wants to run for, I guess, lieutenant governor or whatever he wants to run for, and people need to know this stuff.
Well, what about, you said something about November 8th.
Yeah, we got 2 very important races November 8th. One of them is, it's Tanner McGee, who, as you know, was a former.
Yep.
Yeah, he was Speaker pro tem. He pushed the vaccine lottery, House Resolution 172, trying to incentivize everybody in the state to get the COVID vaccine after he should have known full well that this vaccine, first of all, was not effective, and secondly, was actually harming people. And he was pushing this vaccine lottery in the state of Louisiana to try to basically bribe people into taking this vaccine. Now, he finally pulled it back after he got a ton of pushback, but then later, when Edwards came out with his vaccine lottery, Tanner McGee did nothing to oppose that or raise public awareness about how really dangerous this vaccine is. That is just absolutely horrible. Tanner McGee is not a friend of conservatives, and he's running for the First Circuit right now, Court of Appeal, down out of Lafourche Parish, and
Hi, let me ask you a question. Do you know how that race is going? He needs to be beat, because one of the fraud squad members, Stephen Dwight, actually became a judge. And I thought, here we go again with a guy with a bad voting record got to be a judge. If this guy gets elected, we 0 for 2, and they're judges. That doesn't say good. That doesn't say a lot about the people of Louisiana if we're not going to beat these people back.
No, he doesn't, and he's running against, it's November 8th, and he's running against Stephen Miller, who's a district judge down there, who is a good man. His mother was a nurse. His dad was a school teacher. He's a former prosecutor, a very good man, and our group is encouraging everyone down in that area to vote for Stephen Miller for the First Circuit Court of Appeal against Tanner McGee.
But what are you hearing? What are you hearing about? I hadn't heard a lot about the race. I'm just being blunt, which is not in the area that I am, so I didn't focus on a whole lot. But are you hearing anything about that race? Is it a close race?
I'm hearing that Stephen Miller is very well respected and is getting out there, and I think has a very good chance to win it. But the important thing is that the voters are aware of the fact that Tanner McGee is not our friend. I've seen firsthand, up close, what he's done down in the legislature, particularly as it relates to this vaccine. He also didn't vote on a bill that would have prohibited prescribing abortion pills without a doctor prescription. Just didn't vote on it. But he says he's pro-life. So, and there are a number of other things he's done, but he's not our friend. We're encouraging everyone to vote for Stephen Miller, and I think he'll do a good job on the First Circuit.
Okay, I would trust the judge before I would trust a raw politician and a trial lawyer like
absolutely.
Like Tanner McGee.
Stephen Miller also. Yeah, Stephen Miller was also involved in the drug rehabilitation program in the criminal court down in Lafourche, been very active in that to get people help when they need help. And he's just got a lot of compassion, but he's also very constitutional in the way that he approaches issues from the bench. So I like him an awful lot.
What about did you say there was another race you're watching? I know which one you're watching.
There's another race. Yeah, there's another race that's coming out down in West Baton Rouge, part of Feliciana, Iberville. Jeremy Lacombe is running to fill Rick Ward's Senate seat down there. Jeremy Lacombe is currently state rep. He's running against Caleb Kleinpeter. Jeremy Lacombe, I've known him a long time. He's a nice person, but he has consistently voted inconsistent with his constituency, particularly on this fairness in women's sports bill. Back in 2021, the governor vetoed Beth Meisel's Fairness of Women's Sports bill, which was a great bill, much needed bill. It failed in the veto override session by 2 votes, and Jeremy Lacombe was one of the votes who voted against overriding the governor's veto to keep boys out of girls' sports. And, and a number of other things he's done. He voted against school choice. He voted against the bill that would require public school students to learn about World War II and the heroic role that the U.S. Armed Forces played in liberating Europe from Nazi tyranny. He voted against that. He's just down the line is not what we need down there, and it's nothing personal because he's a nice person. But Caleb Kleinpeter's a real conservative. He's a U.S. Marine, and we're encouraging people in that area, if you're in that district, to vote for Caleb Kleinpeter for state senate. There's just no choice to be made there, and we need it. It's an important Senate seat that we need.
When we get back, I want to talk about next year's elections, how active y'all going to be and what y'all going to do, because we got some bad players, some of them trying to be attorney general, some of them trying to be lieutenant governor, some of them want to go from the House to the Senate. If they all went home, it'd be better. It's kind of curious to see how that's going to work out next year. His name is Chris Alexander, Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group. We'll take a break. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. Chris Alexander, our special guest, Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group. Hey, Chris, so we got elections next year, and I don't want to jump ahead of the
Anybody here?
Talked about. Yeah, you there? I got you. You with me?
Okay. Moon, I gotta get you the Creedence discography for Christmas, man. That's some great music.
Oh, the music.
Creedence Clearwater Revival, man.
Oh no, I'm
you got some great music.
I got him. I know.
Sometimes I won't. Sometimes I want you to let it play a little longer.
Bad Moon Rising. Didn't they play that?
Bingo.
Okay. Well, Brandon been wanting me to use that a lot. We do put that on sometime. Chris, listen to me.
Indeed.
I want to jump gears to next year. Governor's race. All these races. But the legislative races, and especially the 23 fraud squad members and some senators, need to be beat. And if people would just listen. Y'all doing a good job, because what you're doing is going to get what C.B. Ferguson always said, voting records is who you are. Somebody mentioned that the other day, was talking about football, talking about the Saints. Well, you're 2-5, that's who you are. And I thought, it makes a lot of sense. It really is who you are. So voting records, and sometimes lack of voting records because bills will push back, is who you are. And I think that needs to be pointed out with these. Listen, Republicans, Democrats alike, all of them need to be shown their voting record.
No question about it. And we got some important races coming next year. We got one out in Livingston. Valerie Hodges, who's a good state rep, is going to be running against Buddy Mincy to fill Rogers Pope's Senate seat out there. And Mincy is a disaster for us. And he says he always walks around talking about he's got the most conservative voting record down there, which is just flat out false. Anything that has to do with parental rights with the school boards and teachers unions, he's always opposing the parents. He opposed a very, very good bill that I talked about a little while ago that would require the students to learn about World War II and the Holocaust and the heroic role that the American forces played in that. World War II museum resources that would have free access to. He was one of 3 Republicans to vote against that, along with about 30 Democrats. And now he's going to run for state senate out there and talk about what a good conservative he is. Yeah. And, we're hitting him hard on that. That's just one race. But Mincy has to go. Well,
let me give you another thing. Mincy's part of the fraud squad that I've deemed. These people,
yes,
when you have 68 Republicans, walk across the aisle, cut a deal with the woke Democrats. Cut a deal with the Democrats who voted to allow boys to play in girls' school. They call us racist every time they get a chance. Cut a deal with the people that want critical race theory taught in the schools. Walked across, cut a deal with the pro-abortion group. All of those should be beat. I'm begging people, don't elect these people, because when they did that, they put Clay Shakespeare, who's the real deal cutter. Once you make that vote,
every single one. Every single one of those 23 needs to go when they come up for re-election. Every single one of them needs to go. Every single one of them needs to be exposed. I do give Ray Garofalo something of a pass on it because he tried his best to challenge Scheck Snyder.
Yeah, but you notice Clay Shake Snyder got rid of him, and not one of his buddies in the fraud squad stepped up and said, "I'm with you, Garofalo." Not one of them.
That's right.
Not one of them.
That's right.
Boye, Stefanski. I mean, none of them manned up because they don't know how to man up. They just cut deals for themselves. Chris, we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Real quick, your webpage.
www.lacag.org. www.lacag.org. Go on and join as members. We need the support.
All right. Thanks for the deal. All right. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.
Bye-bye.